friends, that gaming author here, and welcome to our very first Dungeons and Dragons stream, a place where we make light of dark situations and we turn my books into reality in some sort of way. Anyway, I am freaking the DM, which I am terrified of, but also hyped for because this is my first time doing such a thing. And I have my buddy Weird Lemur, aka Joe here, as one of the players. We'll introduce your character at a more appropriate time. So, I mean, people watching will at least know the first name by the title. But anyway, we're going to be doing a prologue stream. So it's just a solo session where Joe's character, we kind of see what leads up to where he will be when the campaign begins, and we're just kind of doing this as like a practice run. We're gonna see how playing D&D, over Discord will work. I'm gonna try to work on my storytelling abilities as like verbally as opposed to written like I normally do. So anyway, is there anything you'd like to say before we get started?
No, it's just it's probably a good thing to note that this is a preemptive campaign to a campaign that will follow up again. So be sure to keep an eye out for that in the probably hopefully near future, but
Hopefully.
realistically it'll probably be in the distant. But we'll get to it.
Exactly.
And probably just a little warning about my character. He may be insane, but he has a heart of cabbage.
A heart of cabbage. You heard it here,
That's
folks.
right.
Alright, so with that out of the way, I will go ahead and pause the music and we will jump right in to where the story begins.
I'm gonna add one more thing. I
Oh,
will
yeah.
be having some music going. I'll be having it at a low volume, but all of the music that we'll be playing is done by our DM here.
Oh, yeah, I freaking compose music. That's a thing.
Here we go.
Alright, so as you can see on my screen, there is a map of the region that our campaign begins in, at least. So, starting off, let's go ahead and set the stage for your character here. So, beginning. It is the early morning of June 11th of the year 1859. You have been traveling for quite some time. While you can use the ability to jump between portals, whenever you want, you decided to take this particular trip on foot, and that's mostly because you don't have the patience to deal with people dragging you out of your home. So you see, what happened was, about a week ago, you received a summons from someone who never told you their name, but the summons simply told you to travel southward to the village of Allore. They said that there's something only a warlock could take care of. And, you, being a warlock, that's kind of your job anyway. And you figure, there's probably a little bit of money in it for you, so why not travel? So, here you are, 7 days of travel. You've kind of used a portal for fun, to kind of hop between towns instead of making the full trip. The full trip would have taken you, probably a couple of weeks or so. Just depending on how fast you travel, what you use to travel, but, you had no horses, no carriages, nothing like that. You just traveled by foot and partially by portal. Anyway, on this morning of June 11th, you find yourself in the forest surrounding the village. You have an idea of the lay of the land in terms of the Orlivia province. You've lived long enough to understand exactly what goes on here, where everything is. You don't know the specifics of these locations, but you know where they are, and you know how long it would take to go to them. And so you're in this forest. You're only about a mile or so away. And you're just walking around, and of course there are trees everywhere, and as the aged warlock, my apologies, as the aged warlock you are, trees are your mortal enemy, and this has not been a very fun walk for you. However, you have
Blasted trees.
you have used up pretty much the entirety of your portal jumping abilities for the time being because you haven't really given yourself time to rest in the last about 7 or 8 hours. So here you are, just wandering through the forest, and shortly after, you come to the village gates. They're not really heavily guarded. It's just a setup with a couple of wooden posts wrapping around the village, and there's maybe one single soldier there. He's just kind of standing there, clad in like royal blue Crown's Guard armor with like a symbol of a sword with like streaks of light around it, and he's just holding a single spear in hand, and he's just kind of hanging out there, kind of chewing gum, minding his own business. He sees you approach, and he just kind of nods and goes, "Hey." And what does he see? So kind of feel free to describe your character and introduce him.
Well, I'm a crazy old man. Long gray beard with a symbol burned into the beard, which is a very important symbol. I don't know really know where to go from there.
All right, no worries. And so you are, hang on, you are an elf, right? Yeah, you're an elf.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So you are.
Pointy ears and my staff of Bob.
Oh yeah. So one point to notice is that our player here carries a staff, and tied to it is a little stubborn imp. He doesn't know the actual name of this imp, but he just goes ahead and calls him Bob. And the entire time you've been walking, Bob's just been kind of grumbling to himself, like, and just, he's speaking a language you don't quite understand, but you just, every time he starts to bother you, just whack him up against a tree and go, "Silent, Bob."
Like, yeah, he's tied up to my staff, but I will hit him with another tree anyway.
Exactly. So as you're passing by this guard, and he's just kind of chewing his gum and minding his own business, he sees you, kind of takes a kind of like a double take, looking at your staff, and he's like, he's still chewing his gum, and he's like, "Excuse me, sir, come over here." So he just kind of walks over to you, and what do you do as he's approaching you?
I wait and listen.
Good. So he just kind of approaches, and he just kind of looks you over. He doesn't really. Actually, let's go ahead and make our first check. So I'd say for this, go ahead and roll an insight check. So roll a d20 and go ahead and add 2.
D20.
Yeah, add 2 to it.
D20 and add 2. Okay, so this is my D20 dice. Boom. Alright, 60. Alright, I got 18.
Not bad. All right. So just kind of giving him a once-over, you can tell he has no malevolent intent. He's just kind of a little weirded out by your general appearance and the fact that there's a little squirming imp on your staff. So he just kind of looks you over and he's like, "Hey, well, where do you hail from?"
Well, I hail. Oh crap! I forgot what it was called again. What's the
It's called Livia.
Livia?
Yeah.
All right. I hail from the land of Livia, the capital where the royal family lives. I be out in the cave all by my lonesome sometimes.
All right, I see. Any explanation for the little thing on the staff? And Bob's all like, "Thing? What are you calling a thing?"
Shut up, Bob.
Sure, shut freaking your face in or whatever shit. The guard just kind of looks at you. He realizes you're a bit of a weird pair. He's like, "All right, go on in." So he just
Thank you, good sir.
he just kind of looks you over, raises an eyebrow. He's like, he doesn't care. So he just goes back to his post. And now you walk into the village of Allure. This isn't really a place you've been to a lot in your past, but you at least know it enough to where it's like it's known as a village, but it's more like a town in terms of its size and population. You've got all these cobblestone streets and like alleys full of, or alleys made up of different buildings and everything. So you take out the note that you're holding in your hand again, and paying attention to the details on it this time, it tells you to go to a place called the Lazy Tiefling. However, that's not necessarily a name you've heard of. You just know that it's a location you've been to. So with that, I would like for you to roll a perception check. So roll a d20 plus 4.
A D20. Alright, so here's my D20. Oh crap! I got a 6.
All right, so you're kind of looking around all these sprawling alleyways, and you know you haven't really had a lot of rest recently. So like all the buildings kind of blur together. You don't see any specifics on signs. So, with that being the case, you can't really pinpoint its location from where you are. So, with that being the case, what would you like to do?
I would like to go to the bar and chat up the bartender.
Well, see, like you don't necessarily like that's what this check was for. The lazy tiefling is the bar. So
Oh,
now you gotta,
oh.
yeah. So you can, continue looking around. You can maybe look for some people to, uh, like, give you instructions to this location.
Um, uh, observe my surroundings.
Observe your surroundings. All right, so then go ahead and roll another perception check. So D20 plus 4.
7, 8, 10, 11.
All right, so around you, you can just pretty much see buildings. There are a few people walking by, like there's kind of an older half elf man kind of passing by. He's just kind of carrying a sack over his shoulder. And as he's passing by, he just kind of looks over at you and just kind of gives you a nod and greeting. If you want to maybe see
I
if.
wanna. I was gonna say, can we roll? Cause I wanna see if I could get back. Cause I wanna wave my stick for a hi as a hello.
Alright, so you wave your stick. And are you trying to take this bag?
Huh? Oh, what?
Are you
No.
trying to. Oh, okay. Just the way you phrased that, I thought you were trying to take his bag. But
No,
anyway.
like wave it. Like instead of like waving his hand, he's using staff.
Oh, yeah. Alright, so he kind of looks at the staff, and Bob just kind of waves his little hand on the staff, and the guy just kind of goes. Yeah. He just kind of awkwardly chuckles and walks on by. So, in terms of the rest of your surroundings, there isn't really much else you can perceive, just kind of based on these last two checks. So, would you just kind of like to go ahead and explore the village a little bit?
Yes, explore further.
Alright, so walking throughout the streets of Allure, you kind of pick up on the fact that this is actually a particularly quiet town. Like, some of the experiences you've had here, you can tell that this place does have a lot of people living here, and the population has only increased in the past, 40, 50 years or so, because ever since, the recent king and queen have come into power, people from all over have been moving into the Orlivia province, and for some reason it seems particularly quiet. I mean, it is still early in the morning, so that could very well be a reason why. But the streets are a little quiet. But on your walk, up ahead, you can see a church. It's kind of a familiar one. You've heard a little bit about this because you're friends with people who used to go to this church. It is, well, called just the Elorian Church, whatever you want to pronounce it. Anyway, it's tall. It's only one story as far as you can see, but there is one really tall steeple with a bell tower on top. And inside, well, you'll have to get closer to go inside. Do you feel like exploring the church?
I want to explore the church.
All right. So you go ahead and walk up to the building and go ahead and make another perception check.
All right. Crap. All right. It's add 4, right?
Yeah, so like you could find the perception and everything on your character sheet. It's under your skills.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, so
So like where it says acrobatics, animal handling, etc. Yeah.
I understand now. All right. So I got 8.
All right, 8. So looking inside, just normal building. Don't like you can kind of see some silhouettes moving around. Be having some small talk. Uh, as far as you can tell, the door appears unlocked. Like you've seen people coming in and out of this on your way over here. So do you want to go in?
I attempt to open the door.
All right, go ahead and make a strength check. No, I'm totally kidding. So you just go ahead and open the door, and as soon as you do, you see two dwarven men. They're both clad in like the green cloth of the church. So they kind of glare at you for a second, and as soon as they see you, they kind of grumble to themselves, and then one of them hurries off to some hallway out in the back of the church that you didn't exactly notice. Just kind of quickly darts to the west, while the other one comes up to you. Like looking at him closer, he's got like a scratch down his face and his eyes all closed, and he's got like this big scruffy brown beard. He's got really long brown hair, and he's holding this cloth, but like you can see that he also has a dagger at his side. He doesn't exactly look like he's about to go frigging stab you, but he just runs up to you and is like, "What's your kind doing here?"
I be looking for. I be looking for the people. Wait, what was the thing again?
The lazy tiefling.
Yes, I be looking for the lazy tiefling. I have been requested.
Hmm. He kind of gives you another look over. He looks at Bob, who's kind of squirming, and he's like, he's telling the truth, I promise. And
Reasons.
the dwarf just kind of is a little startled by your sudden outburst, and Bob's like, "Oh, don't worry, he does that from time to time. Just tell him where the lazy tiefling is." And the dwarf's like, "Don't like your kind, warlock. Lazy tiefling, exit this church, head out to the eastern alleyway. Can't miss it. Get out of this church before I spit on your face and cut off your finger."
Well, it would be the first time I've heard that.
Won't be the last time either. And then Bob just kind of chuckles to himself. So after that remark, the dwarf is still just kind of staring at you. He's glaring. He puts his hand on the sheath of his dagger, like he is ready to cut off a finger if you're not about to leave.
I attempt to escape the church.
Alright, there's no need to roll for anything like this because you're just leaving and he told you to leave anyway. So, you go ahead and head out the church, and he just told you where the lazy tiefling is. So, with that being the case, would you just like to head over in the direction he told you?
Yes.
Alright. So with that being the case, you head out of the church, and you go into the eastern alleyway he told you about. So, it's pretty empty here. You can't really sense anything suspicious. The entire time, Bob's just kind of laughing like an idiot, happy to see you threatened to death. And you just kind of walk along, and go ahead and make a... Hang on, let's see. I want to see which one would work for this. Okay, so go ahead and make an acrobatics check, actually.
Alright. Oh, sweet. Okay, hold on. Acrobatics?
Yeah.
Where is... Oh,
So,
I got 21.
ooh, not bad. So you hear like a gust of wind blow past your long hair. You quickly dodge out of the way, and you see a fucking dart right past your head and stick into the wall of the building ahead of you. You quickly turn you quickly turn around, and you can see this kind of bald, short, stout dude. And like it's a human guy, and he's clad in like these kind of dark green leathers, and it's kind of like a tunic, and he's wearing like these black leggings and thick boots, and he's kind of glaring at you with this, and he's got like this big puffy nose, and his eyes are all yellow, and he's holding another dart in his hand, and as he's watching you, oh yeah?
I yell at him. Never trust a dude in a tunic!
The guy, he doesn't even, he just doesn't even care, so hang on, let's go ahead and see something real quick, blah blah blah, I should have been more prepared for this, alright.
That's a Land of the Lost reference, I gotta say.
That makes sense. Alright, he's gonna attempt to make another attack. Blah blah blah. Okay, attack 3 to hit. Alright. Alright. This time he does hit you with his dart. Let me go ahead and roll damage real quick.
No.
Yes, it begins. Alright. Oh, shit. You take 7 points of damage.
I was there. Does this count from does it carry over? Because when you were testing it out, I still had 4 health.
Oh yeah, no, that doesn't carry over. Like, you can go ahead and restore back to full health, because it should have taken a long rest from that.
Well, now that...
Now you're down to
now that I
1.
do 7, yep, now I'm down to 1.
Alright. So, do you want to engage this person, or do you think you're gonna try to run away?
Wait 1 second. Okay. Let's see. What can I do?
If you
Can
want...
I use... Wait, what?
was going to say, if you want to attack him, we're going to have to roll initiative, because it will be starting a battle.
Oh, so can I use the unidentified flying assistance?
You can, but first you'll have to roll initiative. So roll a d20 and add 1.
Okay, d20 and... Oh, no. 11.
Ooh, perfect. Alright. So, you want to go ahead and cast that spell? So you can only cast one level 1 spell. So doing this will make it to where you won't be able to use your reaction. So you still want to cast it?
What does that mean?
So your reaction is the ability Severness of the Elderly. So you wouldn't be able to use that if you cast this.
Oh.
Because you can only cast one level 1 spell right now. You do have a couple cantrips. Do you see those?
Hand trips? What?
Cantrips. So it's like spells that don't cost any spell slots.
Where do you see this? Or where do I see this?
So under the spells tab, it should actually be above your first level spells.
Okay, what is it again?
Cantrips. So you should have 2. You should have Chill Touch and Eldritch Blast.
Oh, okay. And what did you say they were?
Cantrips, so they're like spells, but they don't take up any spell slots. Yeah, you can use them at any time.
How? Okay. Do I have to scan him? Like, how do I know how much health he has?
So actually, go ahead and well, you don't even need to roll initiative for this. So this guy, he looks to be in top shape, so he's not like damaged or anything. You can't really tell how much health he has, but you can tell that he's fighting fit. So because you haven't really dealt any damage to him.
Okay. Hold on. Equipment. Do I have any potions?
Not quite yet.
I'm gonna go with the Eldritch Blast.
Alright, so go ahead and roll a d20 and add 4 to see if you hit.
11 again.
Oh, and that's adding the +4?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Alright, yeah, that just misses. His armor class is 12, so you have to roll higher than a 12. So you go ahead and fire the Eldritch Blast, and he sees it coming because he's been kind of trailing you this whole time, and he just quickly dodges out of the way. And so let's see, what is this guy going to do then? Alright. Since he's already in combat with you, he sees no use in wasting any more crossbow bolts. So he's going to run up and attempt to punch you. So hang on, let's see.
Oh no!
All right. Ooh, perfect. All right. So that actually misses. So he goes in to swing at you, and you just dodge just barely out of the way. He rolled an 8, and your armor class is 12. So you won on that one, thankfully.
It's like Bob. It's like, I don't think so.
Yeah, and Bob's like, idiot, he's almost down, kill him now. But he's shouting to this person attacking you, not you. So, with that said, he just wasted his turn going to punch you, and now he doesn't have any weapons equipped at the moment. He has weapons on him, but he has nothing equipped. So, what would you like to do against him?
Okay, question. I can get more spells over time, right? Or can I just get like some kind of other spell?
When it comes to this, when using first level spells, like using one right now, that will use up your spell slot, but if you get the chance to rest later on, you will be able to get that spell slot back.
Alright, and
yeah, you do gain.
Yeah, so like right now the only spell spells I have is like, what's... Oh, there it is, the cantrips. I only have those, right?
So you have the cantrips, and then you have those first level spells, and then you do have one second level spell as well.
Alright. I'm gonna go with... I'm gonna go with a chill touch.
Alright. The page is refreshing. Hold on, let me go ahead and... Okay, there we go. So chill touch. So that will be... Go ahead and roll a d20 and add 4 to see if it hits.
15!
Alright. Let's see. Perfect, that hits. So go ahead and roll d8.
D8. Where is my D8?
It's like the diamond-shaped one. It's got 8 sides.
Yeah. Alright. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Crap. Yeah. Oh. How many do I add onto it?
So it's just 1d8 of damage. And then...
Oh.
Oh, and then plus 4 as well.
Oh. Okay. I do 5 damage.
Alright, so hang on, let me go ahead and double check what that takes. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I read that right. Alright, dealt 5 damage. Alright, not bad. So, that goes ahead and takes out almost half. He's definitely looking hurt. He's a little chilled after freaking cold touch damage, and he's kind of trying to shake off the pain. And he's going to go in for another punch. So let's see. Oh, you were getting lucky here. No,
Oh my god.
Yeah, he rolled a 2. That misses again. He swings wide again, but this chill is all over his body, and he's got goosebumps and he's shaking. He can't focus anymore. So with his turn,
Looks like you could use some hot cocoa.
he just kind of scoffs and shakes his head. And for this turn, he is going to go ahead and back up, and he is going to prepare to take his crossbow out. So, what will you do this turn?
Don't forget the marshmallows. Let's go with a teleportation.
Teleportation. So, you've actually already used up all your teleportation, so you can't really do...
Right.
Oh, are you talking about Misty Step?
Yeah.
Alright, so with that being the case, go ahead and that will use up your second level spell, so click use.
So click use where...
So it should be right next to this spell.
Oh.
Yeah. Use. Alright, so with that being the case, you go ahead and kind of teleport and you just right away. So you are no longer in his view, and you're zooming by through the alleyways. And you just want to head...
I'm hitting it, but it's just like, nope.
Oh, weird. Alright. You know what? Whatever. You can teleport anyway, so we're just gonna... For the sake of all this, we're just gonna say that, you can use it. So, you're out of the battle, thankfully, and he's not going to be able to shoot you. So, your teleportation takes you to your destination. And that is the front of the Lazy Tiefling. So would you like to walk in?
Hell yes, we're finally here.
Alright. So, you go ahead and enter the Lazy Tiefling. And so just right off the bat, you can tell this is normally a lively place. There's a live musician in the distance just kind of playing away a tune on the piano. And, all around you're surrounded by this dark mahogany wood interior. It looks really cozy, and there's, a fireplace going on behind there's, a fire going in a fireplace kind of in the back near one of the tables. And all the tables are pretty much being taken up by residents of Allure. However, they all don't exactly appear to be looking very happy. They're all just kind of buried in their drinks, and they're all kind of murmuring amongst each other. And they're just kind of... They're talking about something... Actually, go ahead and, for this, for the sake of just kind of figuring out what you'll hear, go ahead and make a perception check.
Perception?
Yeah.
And perception... Okay, 4, okay. Oh wow, 20!
Oh, not bad. So, like, as you're kind of walking through the bar, you can kind of hear a couple of the conversations going on, and like you're really picking up on it. Some people kind of stop and stare because you got a freaking imp tied to your staff, but uh, like the people who don't stop their conversations to look at you, you can hear that they're talking about some sort of curse that's been placed on the village, and like you can hear whispers about some sort of monster, some sort of creature that's unnatural to the region and shouldn't actually be there. And even while you're looking around, you're actually noticing that a lot of these aren't just regular residents. They're members of the Crown's Guard. A lot of them are still wearing their blue garb, like with the sword emblem on the front, and some of them aren't necessarily, but they're all armed. They all have different kinds of weapons, and they seem afraid of whatever this curse is. So anyway, you head up to the front of the bar, and in front of you you can see the bartender. Like, you can't necessarily see her because she has her back turned towards you, but you can see she's like this green-skinned tiefling with the dark green hair and like horns that kind of spiral up and out in front of her, almost like a bull, but her horns are more decorated, I suppose. She's wearing sort of a like a loose beige dress and like a white apron over it, and she's in the middle of mixing drinks. And as you sit down at the bar, she turns around and she's got like these bright silver eyes. And as she turns towards you, and she's like, "You must be Arcrampan, is that correct?"
You got eyes of silver coins.
She just kind of laughs, and she just kind of turns back and continues making her drink. "They told me it'd be like this. In any case, I appreciate you coming down here on such short notice. I do apologize that we pulled you away from your home up north."
Oh, it's fine. I'm always happy to help.
"Fair enough. I hear great things. You're friends of Garen and Lenora, correct?"
Oh, yes. Lenora loves my muffins of chocolate chip and sriracha.
She told me you had very interesting tastes. Now, let's get down to business. And she goes ahead and finishes making this drink, and she hands it to you, and it's just a cup of ale, and like, as far as you're concerned, you don't have to pay. And Bob just kind of gazes into the cup, and he like gasps, and he's wanting a drink, but you're like, "No, you freaking Bob, don't." So she just kind of hands you the cup, and she looks at you, and she's all, "So, have you heard of the curse going on in this village?"
No, but please do. Go on.
So she kind of looks around at the other villagers and at the Crown's Guard members. All of them are still kind of buried in their conversations. Some of them are still looking at you and just kind of staring at Bob squirming around on the staff. And she goes, "Well, it started recently. There was a reason I wanted to call for a warlock. For some reason, some strange creature has been appearing. It only appears early in the morning, so it's a little late for it to appear now." And she just kind of gestures outside, and you can see the sun is now pretty high up. Like, it took you a decent amount of time to wander through the village, and on top of freaking being shot by some person out in an alleyway, like, you spent a pretty decent amount of time outside trying to find this place. And then she kind of turns back to you, and she goes, "So, this monster, we've had Crown's Guard members go and hunt after him, but lots of them haven't returned when they go to try hunting him. So we called you because we knew you had arcane abilities, so to say. I mean, just look at the mark on your beard. Speaking of which, where did that come from?"
Oh, that was from the old accident. Oh, yes, that happened so long ago. Oh, yes, last Thursday.
"Last Thursday. So long ago, I see. And she is it like already you can tell she was kind of prepared for how Arcrampan behaves, but like she isn't. She's kind of starting to lose her grip a little bit, and she's just kind of like, "Huh, all right, you really are something else." And so she goes, "Okay. Anyway, that's off topic. Anyway, we just want you to hunt this thing down, and we will provide good coin for it." So, do you think you are up to the task?
Oh yes, bring it on. I will accept your challenge for the coin of that is promised.
All right, I'm glad to hear you have this kind of determination. We've needed this for a long time. And so she turns back around, she continues making drinks, and, like, or you assume she's making drinks, but she goes ahead and pulls one of the taps, and suddenly the whole wall lifts up, and you hear this, and the wall begins revolving. And, like, all the Crown's Guard kind of turn and look, and like a lot of them are used to it. They just kind of see this wall revolving and they're like, okay, yeah, whatever. That's just part of the, you know, tavern here. But a lot of them are also kind of surprised. And as for you, you wouldn't necessarily expect this in a tavern. You've seen this happen in places like temples and everything, but never taverns necessarily. So you kind of see this wall revolving, and it leads into this entire back area of the pub. And this tiefling turns around and she goes, "You look quite hurt. I think it would be wise for you to rest for a moment. However, definitely feel free to enjoy yourself. Have a drink or two. It's all on the house. Also, my apologies, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jamaroquai. I am the owner here of the Lazy Tiefling, and I hope you enjoy your stay. As soon as you are finished resting, I'll send someone for you, and we will tell you where to find this beast. Any questions?"
Oh no, thank you. I would just like a bed.
All right, then feel free to take any room in the hotel you want. So with that, she kind of turns around and she continues working on the other people's drinks. So you kind of have a drink in front of you. Or do you feel like drinking it necessarily, or do you just want to head straight to bed?
Yeah, let's go with the long rest. Can we do that?
Yeah. All right. So with that being the case, you go ahead and head into the tavern, or into the revolving wall that this tiefling Jamaroquai has opened up for you. And as you walk in, she just kind of waves goodbye and closes it behind you. And you see this hallway, and it's full of rooms, and it's a very well lit hallway. Like, you're not used to seeing places that are lit using electric lights because it's 1859 or whatever. But uh, you like this is just it's a very well lit place, and you go ahead and head through the hallway, and a lot of the rooms are occupied, but you do see one at the end that's available for you. So you just go on in, and before you plop down on the bed, you look outside the window, and you can see that thief you roughed up. He's outside the pub, and he's just kind of looking around, and you can see he's got a buddy with him now. They're both armed with crossbows. They've got weapons on them. They're out for blood, so you might want to hope you stay well away from them next time you're outside. So anyway, after that, Bob just kind of stares and he's all, "I like those guys." And
Oh, you would, you little impy bastard.
"I don't like your tone."
I don't like your face.
"Well, I don't like your beard." "Ha! I said
Your
it."
opinion. Well,
Well,
that's your opinion.
My
I don't
opinion
like you.
my opinion matters in the world of the arcane, which you as a warlock should be well familiar with.
Oh, but you're the one who's tied to my staff.
Well, details, whatever. In any case, it seems this person, this Jamaroquai, whatever the hell she calls herself, wants you to hunt a monster. So, with that being the case, you should get some rest, as much as I loathe caring about you.
It's great. Alright, yes. Let us rest.
Alright, so you go ahead and set the staff down. You hear a little as you freaking set Bob down face first. And you just kind of plop down in the bed, and you set your belongings down, and there we go.
Long rest, right?
Yeah, go ahead and click long rest, and then it should reset your HP and spell slots. So you'll have another first level spell come tomorrow. And then I'll refresh it on my end as well so I can see that change. Perfection. Alright. So as you sleep into the night, for the most part, it's a pretty peaceful sleep. but in the middle of it, you can hear a voice in the darkness. You can't tell whether it's a dream or not, or whether it's someone in your room, because you don't recall locking the door or anything. But you hear a voice, and at first, you can't necessarily notice what it is. It's so far away, it sounds like it's echoing from the other side of a chamber. But the voice gradually gets closer, and you can hear it. It's a woman's voice, and she's probably about middle-aged, it seems. And she's just, you can't really understand what she's saying now that you realize it. She's speaking in a language you are not familiar with. But finally, she finishes, and you can just hear the last words in common, and she just says, "I'll be waiting." And with that, you wake back up. It's darker outside this time. Like, the sun hasn't even actually risen, but you, as a wizened old warlock, can tell it is early in the morning, which is the exact time you were told that you'd be able to go ahead and challenge this monster. So with that, you wake up, and Bob's just kind of laying there, and he's snoring like a wild imp. So, with that being the case, what would you like to do?
I say we pursue the monster.
Alright, so, with that, you go ahead and pack up your things, you lift up Bob, and he's, like, you shake him awake, and he's like, "No, you'll give me shaken imp syndrome." And you go ahead and head out the door, and you walk outside into the hallway of this inn, but you notice there's no door or anything at the end of it. It's just a straight up dead end. And actually, yeah, go ahead and make another perception check.
Perception check?
Yeah.
And it's at 4, right?
Yeah.
21.
Ooh, not bad. Blackjack. Alright. So you turn around and look, and everything for the most part looks the same, aside from the fact that it's much darker. And you turn back around, and you still see this wall. However, with that perception roll, you can tell this wall is just the revolving door that Jamiroquai opened up for you the previous day. And you see to the right, there's a little switch in the wall, or more like a button, I suppose. Would you like to press it?
I proceed to... Yeah, I would like to hit the button with Bob.
Okay, so you poke the staff in, and Bob's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And you press the button, and you hear this click. And you suddenly hear all these gears turning. It's like... And, like, the wall lifts up out of its place and slightly shifts. And you go ahead and push it open, kind of like a revolving door. And you walk back out, and you're back inside the Lazy Tiefling Tavern. And so, looking around, like, most of the Crownsguard who were here the previous day are gone now, but there are some regular patrons. The music isn't playing anymore, but there are some regular people just kind of sitting down, laying on their arms across the table. Most of them are probably drunk and asleep, and some of them are just kind of looking around like they don't really know where they are. And so you walk out, the door goes ahead and revolves and clicks shut, and as soon as it does, you turn towards the bar itself, which is just to the west of this door, and Jamiroquai hears the click, and she turns around, she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I meant to send someone to wake you up, but it seems you just woke up perfectly fine on your own. I hope the bed was comfortable."
Oh, it was fine. It's better than a cave floor.
Ah, yes, I do recall Princess Lenora telling me that you slept on a cave floor. Anyway, it looks like you are finally back in tip-top shape. Would you like any drinks before you go and hunt this monster?
Do you have pineapple juice?
She's kind of stunned a little bit, and she looks at you, and she's like, I do not, unfortunately. Only hard liquor, milk, and water.
Let's go with some of that milk.
Oh, okay. And so she goes around, and, like, opens up this old, like, ice chest and pours you a glass of milk and slides it across the bar, all, like, classic Western-like. So actually, with that, I want you to go ahead and make a... let's see what would best work for this. Actually, yeah, just go ahead and make a straight dexterity check. So roll a d20 and add 1.
Oh, God. got a 5.
So, wait, is that like a natural 5, or is that like, is
I
that...
got 4 plus 1.
Oh, 4. So... So she goes in and slides the glass, and you don't even realize what she's doing. You just kind of stand there and watch the glass slide and fall down off the bar, and it all splashes everywhere. The glass is broken. And Jamara...
Go in panic and then run out the inn, or run out the bar.
Alright, so you just run flailing your arms, and freaking Bob's all about to throw up because you're swinging the staff so much. And Jamara was like, wait, no, wait! And as soon as you run out the bar, you run into a familiar face. This is the man who attacked you before. And he just kind of has his fists on his sides, and he's just kind of smirking. He's like, I didn't think you'd be so easy to find.
Well, I didn't think you would be so short to find.
So, go ahead and make an intimidation check with a disadvantage. So, what that means is you will roll a d20 twice and take the lower number of those two, and then add +4.
Okay. Okay, the lower number?
Yeah.
Okay, so 20.
Well, that was the lower?
Yeah, I got 16 and then I got 20.
Shit. So, so the guy just kind of, like, you say that, and then, like, his tough exterior suddenly softens, and he looks like he's ready to cry, and he's like, I'm not short. What?
You look short to me, pal.
You suck! And he turns around and goes running.
Don't mess with me.
So,
I'm all crazy, mate.
and then Bob's like, what a snowflake. And then like,
It's cold out.
and Bob just kind of stares at you. He's like, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response.
Saying that is a response.
Shut the fuck up! And then, like, right as he's just kind of scolding you, you hear the door behind the pub open, and Jamiroquai, and she's got, like, and she's holding a rag, and she's been, like, soaking up the milk that you spilled inside, and she's all, you didn't have to go taking off like that. I told you to wait. There was a person out there trying to kill you.
Oh, okay, well, I appear to have figured that out.
It would seem so. In any case, I do apologize for that little misunderstanding. I did not understand that your reflexes were so... not well, I suppose. But in any case, time to get down to business. It is just about the hour that this beast should be appearing. She kind of looks up into the sky, and you see it too, and, like, there's still stars out. Like, it's very early in the morning. It's probably about, like, you as a wise warlock, without even looking at a clock, you could tell it's probably about 5:30 in the morning or so. It's quite early. So, we're just kind of looking up at the sky, and, like, the sun hasn't even risen above or gotten to the horizon yet, really. And so, Jamiroquai turns back around, and she says, you should still have about 2 hours before this beast goes away. Would you like to go around and see if you can purchase anything that may help you on your way?
Yeah, sure. Which way to the shops?
Oh, so to the shops. It's actually, and she kind of walks towards the end of the alleyway where the lazy tiefling is, and kind of points to the left, and she says, if you just go down this alleyway and to the left, you can find a number of shops. So just go ahead and head over there, and if you need anything, you know where I am. Feel free to come over. Let me know if you need any information, anything like that. And then, once you have everything prepared, let me know, and I will direct you in the direction that the beast is in, okay?
Alrighty then.
Alright, so with that being the case, would you like to go and head over to look for these shops?
Yes.
Alright, so you walk over through this alleyway, and go ahead and make a perception check for me while you're walking to the other side of this alley.
20 and perception was 4?
Yes.
18.
Alright, not bad. So there are a number of shops here. A lot of them aren't really open, considering how early in the morning it is. Like, people usually don't start getting ready to open shop until about 6, 7:30. But you can see one particular shop that's open. And it's kind of this standalone building. Most of the shops are kind of lined together, almost like a kind of like in a like an outdoor mall in a way. A lot of them are clumped together within the same building, and like just kind of separated by walls. But this one's a standalone building. It looks kind of like an old rickety shack. Like it's all made of redwood, and like the ceiling looks like it's a little broke. Uh, but the door's open, and you can see light coming in from that store. Would you like to go and approach it and see what it is?
Oh yes, yes, let's do that.
All right. And then Bob's just kind of staring at the shop, and he's like, "No, there's no way I'm going into that tacky place."
Oh, he says the one who has the gem in their head.
Well, if I'm not the tacky one. You're the one who put that in my head. This was not a conscious decision of mine.
Cranberries!
Sure, you always like the cranberries your way out of this, but mark my words, I messed up your name. Arcrampan, I swear, I will have your head one day for this.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that, Bobby boy.
And then he just kind of does the and like turns his nose away and just kind of harumphs. And so you go ahead and walk towards the store, and you can see this like rectangular sign hanging above the door, like dangling by chains, but one side's kind of off center, and like you could tell this is probably an old sign. And it just says Ziltram's Cascading Wonders. And inside you can hear sitar music, and you immediately pick up on a whiff of incense coming from inside. Would you like to go in?
Yes.
Alright. So you open the door, and to a warlock like you, this place is heaven on earth. It's pretty much surrounded by magical items. You've got like all sorts of little glass balls on top of like a ornate iron pedestals. It's surrounded by candles. So like the moment you walk in, the temperature increases like 20 degrees. It's got like candles galore. It's got all these like multicolored tapestries littered with glitter hanging all over. The windows are like blocked by all these tapestries, and there's like one really tall blue one, like dotted with stars, and in the center is the moon. And as you walk in, you can't actually go ahead and make a perception check for me.
Perception?
Yeah.
Come on. There we go. Okay, 14.
All right, not bad. So, like you walk in and you can't necessarily tell how much of these items are for show or like legit. But being a warlock, you
Relate to that.
being a warlock, you can tell a lot of them do have magical properties. Like this entire place is just full, brimming with magic. Like the smell of incense immediately gives it away. Looking forward, you can see this desk across, and you can see the shopkeeper. It's like this elderly dwarven man. He's kind of sitting atop a stool with his legs swaying because he's too short for his feet to reach the floor, and he's kind of humming and playing a sitar. And as you walk up to him, he kind of looks up at you, and his eyes, like his little beady eyes, widen, and he's wearing these massive rounded glasses, so his eyes look like way bigger than they actually are. And
I love these characters.
he looks up at you and he's like, "Oh, wait, customer! All right." And he tosses the sitar away and he runs up to the counter and he's rubbing his hands together and he's like, "Oh, yes, I can see you're a man of magic as well. My name is Ziltram. What is your name, good sir?"
"'Tis I, Arcrampan Warlock."
Arcrampan Warlock, eh? I love that name. Alrighty. So, what are you in for? Are you buying? Are you selling? Is there anything in the world you would like? I can get it for you.
Yes, I would like. Sorry. Yes, I would like. I am interested in your wares.
Ooh, alright, we have plenty of wares. So is there anything in particular you're looking for? Or any types of items? Or anything in particular? Or would you just like to see what we have on sale?
Let's go with what's on sale.
Perfect. Alright. And he's all antsy, you could tell he's probably hopped up on crack or something like that. But he turns around and he's like rummaging through all sorts of like wooden drawers behind him, and he's like pulling out freaking like dead snakes and like rat tails, and he's like, yes, here we go. And he goes ahead and pulls out this giant rack and turns it around, and on this rack you can see a number of items. On the top are 4 bottles of green liquid. These are all potions of healing. And on the second rack is a bag. You aren't quite like, it just kind of looks like an item bag, but actually, go ahead and make an Arcana check.
Oh, crap.
Uh-oh. What is it?
Well, I need to check, but it's a 1.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, Arcana. Oh, great, I got a 5. Lovely.
Alright, yeah, just looks like a bag. So you've got 4 potions of healing on the top rack, this random bag in the middle, and on the bottom is a wand. It just kind of like looks like an old oaken wand. Like, it looks like it's kind of had some use, but otherwise it looks altogether put together. And so Ziltrom, he's just kind of like fanboying over his own products, and he's just kind of waving his hands over this like 3-shelved rack, and he's like, so atop of this first shelf, you can see we've got 4 potions of healing in stock. Each one is 10 gold pieces per bottle, if you feel like having any of them. And on this second shelf, and he grabs the bag, and he holds it up, this is what's called a bag of holding. So it may look like a regular old bag, and like, as you could tell, like, the bag's about the size of your head. It's not really that big. But if you put stuff in it, you can hold all sorts of shit in it. You know what I'm saying? And so essentially, it's a magic bag. Like, that can hold way more than it looks like it can. It's called the bag of holding. And then he lifts the wand up from the third shelf, and he kind of holds it up, like, gently. And he's, like, almost caressing it invisibly. Like, he has his fingers over it, but he's not actually touching it. And he's like, and this is the pièce de résistance. I like to call this the Wand of Magic Detection. It is 30 gold, and if you use it, you can detect if there is magic nearby. You can even see how many of my wares are truly magic. So, 30 gold for the wand, 25 gold for the bag, and 10 gold per potion of healing. Which would you like?
Alright, okay. So, when it comes to the currency, like, obviously the gold is gold, right?
Yeah, the gold is gold, and then... So you should have 60 gold. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then let me go ahead and get the conversion for you.
The conversion?
A currency conversion. So, just to kind of tell you, like, what equals what. So, 1 copper equals 10 silver. Or, whoops. Oh, no, the other way around. So, oh, shit. Alright.
Yeah, so 1 silver is 10.
Yeah, 1 silver is 10 copper. And then...
I choose to buy him out.
So you want to buy everything?
Yes.
Alright, hold on. Let me go ahead and calculate that. Should have been more prepared for this. Alright.
Here we go. Currency.
So that's going to be 40 plus 25 plus 30. Alright, that'll be a total of 95 gold.
95 gold?
Yeah.
Okay, gosh darn it.
Alright.
How do I... Is there... Wait, how much gold?
95 gold. And so 1 gold piece is worth 10 silver pieces, and then 1 silver is worth 10 copper. I'll actually go ahead and send you the link I'm looking at so you can like calculate it more accurately on your end as well.
Wait, so it says total currency in GP. What does that mean?
Total currency in gold. So that's calculating everything all as gold.
Oh, so it does it for you.
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't have enough. All right. So let's go with. Okay. So how much is the wand?
The wand was 30 gold.
30 gold.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get the 30. Let's. Okay. Yeah. Let's just 30. Okay. So I bought the freaking. I bought the wand.
All
I
right.
now have 51. Oh yeah. So it just does it for you automatically.
Okay, cool. And
Awesome.
then, did you want to buy any of the potions? There are 4 in stock.
And they're how much?
10 gold each.
Let's get 2.
All right. So wand of magic detection and 2 potions of healing. So that'll
So
be.
that would put me. Oh, I'm sorry. What?
Oh yeah. So that would be a total of 50 gold spent.
50 gold spent. Like.
Oh yeah, because
Oh.
you're getting the wand and 2 potions, right?
Oh yeah. So 20 gold.
Oh yeah, 20 gold for the potions.
Oh crap. 40. All right. So I'm at 31 gold points. And how much was the bag of the
But
holding?
the bag of holding was 25 gold.
Let's do that.
Sweet. All right. So you get 2 potions, the bag of holding, and the wand of magic detection. And once you've done the gold calculations, go into equipment, click manage equipment, and then you're going to want to add those items. And you can search for them, thankfully. So I'll just let you know what to search for.
Okay. Search. All right.
All right. So start off by searching potion of healing.
Potion of healing. Here we go. Potion of healing.
All right, and go ahead and add 2.
Add. Boom.
All right, and then next, look for bag of holding.
Bag of holding.
All right, then go ahead and add that. And then last...
Wand of magic detection.
Yeah, wand of magic detection.
There we are.
Perfection. All right, so you go ahead and buy those, and the entire time Ziltrim's just kind of rubbing his hands together, and he's like, yes, yes, someone finally bought the wand. I am so excited to see how this works. So, let me go ahead and pull that up because I'm dumb and didn't pull this up ahead of time. So I just, let's see how this works. Actually, you can go ahead and check it on your end as well. So the wand has 3 charges. While holding it, you can expend 1 charge as an action to cast the detect magic spell from it. The wand regains 1d3 expended charges at daily dawn, or daily at dawn. So you can use it 3 times, and then once the next day rolls around, you can get.
So it's 3 times a day, and the next time it gets filled is the next day.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, using it, basically you can use it to see if there's any magic around you.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So he just kind of, like, he just hands you that rack, and he's all, good, good. I'm so glad we have had this business encounter. Is there anything else you would like, or anything you would like to sell?
But no. I would like to inquire more about you. How is yours? How is your shop?
How is my shop exactly? Well, how shall I tell you? The story of Ziltrim goes a long history away. And he just kind of blabbers on for... he starts blabbering on for quite some time about how he started this shop when he was just a wee little dwarven lad, and, like, all his parents, they all moved from, like, different regions. They all moved, like, from way east. Like, some of them even as far as Yorjun, which, as you know, is, like, thousands and thousands of miles away. But he goes on this long story, and about 20 minutes in, you start realizing you're kind of wasting time, and that beast goes away once it reaches a certain time. So,
Oh
yeah. So he spends about 20 minutes going on this rant before even Bob's like, okay, go, just freaking stop. We have business to attend to. Remember?
Yes, I do remember. Let
And
us
then,
go off then.
and then Ziltrim's like, all right, good. It was so nice to meet you, and I hope to see you again. To put that wand to good use. And then he just kind of picks up his sitar and continues playing it as you and Bob walk out the door. And then, so now You got all this crap, thankfully, which is likely to be helpful. And, with that, is there anything else you'd like to do in order to prepare before heading out?
Nope, let's just head out.
Alright, cool. So, you go ahead and retreat back to the lazy tiefling, because it was Jamaroquai who was going to give you this information on what to do. So you go ahead and talk to her, and she's describing this beast, and as far as you can tell, it's not something you've necessarily heard of yourself, but the way she describes it is that it's a flying beast, so the reason a lot of Crownsguard members haven't been able to get it is because when it goes up into the air, you can't hit it. Like, I guess to put it in technical terms, if a flying enemy is in the air, it's out of melee range, so only magic can really deal with it. And that's why they decided to call upon you, Warlock, because you do have magical capabilities, and you can attack it from, a distance. So, Jamarque goes ahead and explains this, and the entire time, you guys are actually leaving the village. And actually, go ahead and roll a perception check with a disadvantage.
Disadvantage?
Yeah, because you're listening to Jamaroquai while you're looking at your surroundings, so it would be a disadvantage.
So he's like getting distracted.
Yeah, so it's like you're trying to do two things at once.
All right. So what is the disadvantage?
So you roll a d20 twice, and then add your perception, but take the lower number of the rolls.
Oh, okay. So that was 14, and then that one's 12. So it's 4. 12 plus 4.
Yeah.
6.
All right. So actually, that's not bad. So as you're looking around and Jamarque is explaining all this to you, you can kind of see people out of the corner of your eye. They're kind of peering around buildings, but like the moment you turn towards them, they're suddenly gone. And like as far as you can tell, it's not like they're vanishing. They're just kind of hiding behind the buildings as soon as you turn towards them. And one of them, like you don't necessarily see a face, but you do see the bald top of his head, and he is watching you as you're leaving the village. And so you're walking through, you and Jamaroquai head out to these fields towards the east of the village, and you begin heading away. And for the most part, it's actually a surprisingly clear location. Like on your way in, you notice the entire village was essentially surrounded by forest, but on this passage that Jamaroquai is taking you down, it's actually just grasslands, and it is surrounded by trees for the most part. But and your destination is also heading towards trees, but this one place is just a particular clearing. Anyway, you and Jamaroquai are talking, and she's kind of describing this beast to you, and you come to a point, and she's all, "So are you sure you've made all the preparations you need before taking this beast on?"
Oh, I sure do believe so.
And then Bob's like, "He is never prepared." And then Jamaroquai just kind of ignores him because no one cares about Bob. And so you continue walking, and she takes you to this riverbank. And it's not a very big river. It's quite long, but it's probably about 5 feet across. And there is like this old rickety bridge that goes over it. And go ahead and no, you don't need to make any checks for this. You can see. So going across this bridge, you start entering the forested area again. So the temperature suddenly drops, but the sun is starting to rise because you spent a lot of time talking to Ziltrum in the shop. So the sun is starting to begin to rise again, but as far as you can tell, it seems like it should still be early enough to find this beast. And so you're walking into this forested area, the temperature kind of drops because it's shaded again. You can hear the rushing of the river below you, and for the most part, the air is pretty silent. You just hear birds chirping in the distance along with the sound of the river. And Jamaroquai just kind of speaks up a little as you guys are crossing the bridge, and she says, "So do you have any questions before we go in?"
Do you know what kind of beast this is?
So this beast, it is unlike anything we've ever seen here. As I've told you before, it flies in the air, and it likes to attack from above. And it lives in dark places, so for humans, it's quite difficult to see in there, but you're an elf, correct?
Oh, yes, look at the ear!
Ah, yes, my apologies, I just didn't want to assume anything. But with you as an elf, you should be able to handle this beast, because you too can see in the dark. And that is precisely why we have hired you for this task. So, you guys cross this bridge, and you make it to the other end of the clearing. And across the way, you can see this kind of cave formation. It's like a hooded rock in the ground, and there's a hole that's dug where it was to kind of make an entranceway, and it's like a staircase that leads down into this cave. And outside there are like these two torches, almost like tiki torches. They're stuck on the ground, and they're lit to kind of mark the entrance. And one of the Crown's Guard is standing guard in front of this cave entrance, and he's holding a spear like the one you met earlier. And as soon as Jamarque approaches, he just kind of stiffens up, and he's like, "Mr. Jamarque, ma'am, sir." And then Jamarque just looks at him, and she's like, "At ease, don't worry." And so the guard just kind of relaxes, and she's like, "So this is the warlock that Holly had us hire. Is it okay if we let him in?" And the guard just kind of looks at you, and then he looks back at Jamarque, and he's like, "It's an old man. It's an old man. Are you sure we should be letting him in?" And go ahead and roll a perception check with advantage.
With an advantage?
Or with advantage. So it's like the opposite of disadvantage. So you roll 2d20s, and then you take the higher of the number and then add perception.
Okay, so 18 and then 14. So add 4 to 18. 24? No, 22.
Not bad. So you do very clearly hear him say, "He's an old man. We should be letting him in." Do you respond to that?
Well, just because I'm old doesn't mean I still got fire in me.
And then he just kind of looks at you and then looks up at Bob, and Bob's like, "Oh, don't worry, this old man's got it in the bag." And then it's what?
I just went back.
All right. So then that finishes that, and then the guard nods, and then he looks at Jamarque. Jamarque just kind of smiles and puts her hand on his shoulder, and she's like, "No, don't worry. I have confidence he will be able to do this." And then she turns around towards you, and she looks up, and as you're looking into this cave, you can see it is quite dark, but since you're an elf, you have dark vision, so you can see up to 60 feet in the dark. So you can see the entrance, and you can see that the staircase goes about 20 feet underground, and then kind of branches off towards the north. Or no, towards the south, my apologies. It branches off towards the south, but that's about as far as you could see. And so Jamarque turns towards you, and she says, "I will not be able to accompany you while you go in here. Do you think you'll be okay on your own?"
Oh, I'll be fine. I got me my Bob.
And then Bob's like, "You don't have shit."
Oh, you say that, but you're just a Mr. Grumpers.
And then Bob does not dignify that with a response. And so Jamarque just kind of backs up, and she's like, "Okay then, feel free to enter."
Sweet, going right in.
Yeah, time for the dungeon crawling. Alright. So, you've armed yourself. You've got your weapons, you've got your magic, you've got your bob. You head down into the depths of this cavern.
You got your Bob.
So, immediately noticing a few things as soon as you get into this cavern. It is much colder than it is outside, which, I mean, it's fucking underground. Of course it's going to be cold. And as far as you can tell, actually go ahead and make a perception check.
13, 17.
Alright, cool. So, as far as you could tell, you're kind of in a cavernous corridor. It kind of stretches on for quite some time, and like right at the end of the 60 feet that you can see, the path kind of opens up to a wider space. Would you like to go ahead and proceed forward?
Yes.
Alright. So as you're walking, and like the cave's pretty silent, like you can kind of hear the quiet din of like distant sounds like pebbles dropping, like water droplets, and the entire time Bob's looking around and he's like, kind of reminds me of home.
Oh, I bet it does. Where are you from? Hell?
Actually, yes.
Fine.
So, in an awkward silence between you and Bob, you go ahead and proceed forward, and now you're in this bigger room. It's almost circular shaped, but of course, like the sides are rocky, so it's like or kind of jagged edged, so it's not like a man-made cave. You can tell this is still a natural cave down here, or cavern, or whatever the ones that go down are called. But you go in and there's not necessarily a chasm, but like it's either cave or cavern. But logistics anyway. And so you're inside this room, and as you proceed, the space is pretty wide. And go ahead and make another perception check.
Alright. 9.
9. All right. So yeah, it just looks like a pretty cavernous room with like a few like ruins scattered about. What would you, or not necessarily ruins? They're just more like broken crap from over the years. So is there anything in particular? Oh, what?
I was gonna say, can I use the wand of magic discovery or whatever?
The wand of magic detection.
Yes.
All right, you can indeed. So, hang on, let me go ahead and check the spell for that because I'm dumb.
Do I have to equip it?
Oh no, you're fine.
Charges.
So, okay, for the duration, you sense the presence of magic within 30 feet. Okay. So, you cast it with the wand, and as far as you can tell, there isn't necessarily any magic in this particular space. The spell will stay on for a little bit, though. So, like, you'll kind of get like a mental ping as soon as you notice there's magic nearby.
So just hit use in the little key thing here.
Oh yeah, go ahead and hit that.
Alright. So it's currently under equip. Alright. So nothing's glowing?
Yeah, so far nothing at the moment. So with that, what else would you like to do while you're in this room?
What did you say was in the room?
With your perception check, you couldn't really see much. You could just see kind of broken crap scattered about, really.
Alright, can we proceed on to the next room?
Alright, sure. So, walking forward, you can actually see two passages. One heading further, I suppose, from your perspective, north, and then one heading to the west. And with your vision, you can't really see how far they go, just because these paths both kind of snake along the underground. So, which direction would you like to take?
Can I hold up my wand to see whichever one will get a reaction?
Of course. So you hold up the wand, check both paths. So far, nothing. If there's anything magical in this cave, it's too far to be detected by this wand.
I'm sorry, well, you kind of cut out there. What was the last
Oh
one?
yeah. So far, if there's anything magical in this cave, it's too far to be detected by this wand.
Gotcha. So let's go with the way going to west.
Alright. All good adventurers go left. Alright. So you go ahead and head down the snaking west path, and it goes on for just a little bit. It doesn't go on for too terribly long, because it eventually leads to another room. It's kind of like the one you were just in, only this one's a little smaller. Go ahead and actually roll another perception check with advantage.
Perception check with advantage. Oh, lovely. The first one was a 1. Oh, 13. Alright, 17.
Alright, not bad. So, this time, you can, like, this room actually is a dead end, but you can see something shining kind of in the corner. Would you like to go ahead and investigate that?
Yes.
Alright, so you go and investigate that, And in this corner, you see like a kind of like a transparent stone. It looks kind of goldish. It's like a watery gold. And you know this to be a stone of amber. This is actually worth 100 gold pieces if you sell it. Would you like to take that?
Yes.
All right, so go ahead and go back to manage equipment and search for amber.
Wait. Hold on. Wait. Equipment. Here, hold on. Oh. Oh, that one. Duh.
Yeah, it should say like gear gemstone.
Yeah, no, I'm just a dingus.
All right, so go ahead and add that to your inventory. So now you have something
Alright,
to
there.
sell if you ever strap for cash.
Hell yeah. Does it have any other,
Uses or anything? Not to your knowledge. It's just kind of a stone you can sell. It's kind of like ore, just kind of a material.
Gotcha.
All right, so having gone into this room, you feel the ground starting to shake beneath you, and like rocks are starting to crumble around you. I want you to go ahead and make an acrobatics check.
Acrobatics check. Alright. This will be close. Alright, acrobatics. Oh god, I got 12.
Oh, just barely. So, or yeah, just barely under. So you feel the ground beginning to crack below you, and like you're starting to freak out, and you try to back up, but the entire the entire floor caves in, and you fall. However, the fall isn't far enough to actually deal damage. So in terms of health, you're fine. Thank goodness, because you're a squishy bean. But
I twisted my ankle.
Bob's like, fucking get over it. But anyway, so you fall down, and like there's all sorts of like dust and dirt from all these old rocks that have fallen. And I want you to go ahead and let's see, which check would this be? Roll a survival check for me.
Survival. Oh, okay, +2. Okay. Come on, something good. Okay, we're gonna go with 14.
All right, not bad. That's actually just what you needed to pass. So,
Good thing it's +2.
no kidding. So you go ahead and clear some of this rubble that's out of the way, and like all these rocks, and you're just kind of shoving them using Bob's face as like a lever, and you're like, "Bleh." And then you shove all these rocks out of the way, and you find, actually, nah, we don't need to check for this. So you find that you're now in a man-made room beneath this cave. So it's like it's almost like someone's old bedroom, and like it's got 4 walls, and like there's a desk along the wall with like a wooden chair pushed in, and to the northern wall there's like a massive collection of books and a door next to those books. And like you see on the actually go ahead and make a perception check for me, or no, investigation.
Investigation. All right. Yeah. 14 again.
All right, so you can see that the desk that the chair is pushed into, there are drawers, and one of them is like slightly opened, and as far as you can tell, like if this place belongs to anyone, they haven't been here in a very long time. So what would you like to do?
Investigate the drawers.
All right, so go ahead and roll another investigation check for me.
Investigation. Oh crap! Come on. It rolled off my little table.
Of course. So yeah, so then if it rolled off, go ahead and re-roll.
Yeah. All right. So it's investigation. So it's +2. 21.
All right, perfect. So you're looking through all these drawers, and a lot of them don't really have anything in them. There's just a lot of random, like, crap, like a couple. Actually, you do manage to find about 5 copper pieces and 3 silver pieces. So go ahead and add those to your currency.
All right. So here we go. So equipment. Manage equipment. So, how much copper?
So 5 copper and 3 silver.
5 and 3.
All right.
Boom jams. Back to 22 gold.
Yeah.
Hell
So looking around further, you do manage to find one one drawer that was actually shut really tight, and it's not necessarily locked, but it was almost sealed shut. So go ahead and make a strength check with advantage.
Can I use Bob's face?
Sure thing.
And 17. So you said with advantage?
Yeah.
And you said strength, and strength is...
Plus 0.
Oh, alright, so we're going 19.
All right. Not bad. So you go ahead and you look at Bob and you're like, freaking use your teeth to open it. He's like, yeah, it's fine. So you
Just get his fang, just latch him onto the handle.
yeah. So you take the staff by both hands and like you just kind of swing Bob around and he opens his fangs up and he like puts them into the drawer and you pull and then you pull. Bob's fangs kind of goes loose, or one of Bob's fangs go loose, and he's like, ah, fuck, as he's like starting to bleed out. But you don't care. So you open this drawer.
Don't worry, you'll get money from the Tooth Fairy.
So,
The stutter started out as unintentional, but now I'm making it.
Yep. So, inside this drawer, you find a wand. It's a particularly fancy wand. Like, it's actually got a rather ornate, like, black marble handle and everything, and the wood is dyed black. And you can tell it's made out of oak, and I want you to go ahead and make an Arcana check.
Arcana check, alright. Oh, crap. Hold on, fell off again.
Alright.
Okay, so 2 rolls. Wait, no, 1 roll.
Yeah, 1 roll.
Okay, and then Arcana is, +4, oh shit. 22.
Nice. Alright. So you spend some time examining this wand, and you come to understand that this is something called the Wand of Secrets. So kind of like the wand you bought from the other guy, this wand also has 3 charges, but what it does is that it can find secret doors or traps within 30 feet of you, like per use. So if you were to use it, you can look for secret passages or any potential traps or anything like that. So would you like to keep that?
Yes, I'm going to take that.
Alright, so go ahead and search for Wand of Secrets and add it to your inventory.
Already ahead of you.
Nice.
Ooh, this'll be helpful.
You're a piece of shit who doesn't deserve shit like that. And, like, Bob's just kind of holding onto his mouth, and then it's all, like, his arm's just dripping with his blood.
No, if you don't keep if you don't keep that bleeding mouth of yours shut, I swear I rip that other one right out of your head.
I dare you to do it.
Oh, you don't want to see me when I'm hung?
Alright, so, with that out of the way, what would you like to do? Do you remember what else was in this room?
No.
Alright, so, aside from this drawer and the chair, there was also a bookshelf, and then there was a door by the bookshelf.
Let's use the Wand of Secrets by the bookshelf.
Ooh, alright. So you go ahead and cast that, and you don't detect any passages, but you can see that some of the books have traps on them.
I'm sorry, could you repeat? You said I was getting the charges off.
Oh yeah, no worries. So you don't see any secret passages, but you do see that some of the books are glowing. Those might be trapped.
Let's go with Let's go through the door.
Alright, so you go ahead and go through the door, and interestingly enough, the door takes you to a corridor that looks like it belongs to someone's house. And so you're walking through, and there are like picture frames. Like there are pictures of a. You can't make out the faces because for some reason the faces on these pictures have all been torn out. But you can see the bodies of different people, like all clad in like armor, casual robes. There are some children there, but their faces have been torn out as well. And some of the glasses in the frames have been cracked. And I want you to go ahead and make a perception check for me.
Perception. Okay, and perception +4. Alright, we got an 8.
Alright, so yeah, you just all along these hallways there are all these pictures, and they're like regular square shaped pictures that you could probably just hold in one hand. They're very small. And this hallway leads into the rest of the house, and surprisingly it's actually very well lit. Like there are some candelabras lining the wall, and like the floor below you is like made out of marble tiles, and it leads to a carpeted floor out in front of you, and to your right there's a door that leads into a room that pretty much looks pitch black, but you know, with your dark vision you could see that's basically just someone's restroom. So what would you like to do?
Let's use the restroom.
Alright, so you walk in and you don't even need to turn any lights on. You go ahead and take a dump. You'd probably heal like 1 hit point if you were hurt or whatever. And
Can I use my fecal matter as a throwing weapon?
I mean, you sure can. So with that being the case, go ahead and click on Manage Equipment, go to Custom Items, and add a custom item.
Hold on. So still manage equipment?
Yeah.
Custom items.
Yeah.
Custom items.
And then go ahead and it should, like, if you click on the where it says unidentified item, you should be able to edit it.
Okay, yeah. Oh, here. Oh, edit. There we go.
Yeah, so go ahead and just name that like piece of shit. Magic shit. There we go. And under description, let's go ahead and say when you throw it, it will deal 1d4 of damage.
D4?
Yeah, d4.
Oh, 1d4 damage.
And yeah, that's fine. So 1d4 of damage.
And no poison effects.
Now I was thinking about it, but I don't quite know how to like make that right off the bat. So yeah, it'll just be 1d4 damage when you throw it.
How much do you want it to weigh?
You could probably just put it at like 0.1. It really doesn't need a weight.
0.1.
This is happening. You're literally carrying a piece of shit.
Ha ha ha! Oh, wait. Where is it? Okay. Inventory. Where is it? Magic shit! There it is.
Alright, hang on, let me go ahead and make sure yeah, there it is. I like it. Alright. So you take it and Bob's like, the hell is wrong with you?
That is an excellent question.
And the conversation goes no further. However, after you open the door, you start to hear humming in the distance.
Oh, real quick, I would like to somehow wash my hands.
Alright. But go ahead and make an investigation check with advantage.
Oh, great. 2. 17. Okay.
Alright.
And what was the...
Investigation.
Investigation. 2. So we're going with 19.
Alright, not bad. So, you can see in this bathroom that there is indeed a faucet because for some reason they had running water. But when you go to turn it on, no water comes out. There is a bar of soap, so you can just go ahead and soap your hands up, but there's no way to rinse them off.
Just He's like, I gotta be clean. And he just starts just soaping his hands, just all this. They're all soapy. He's like,
Yes.
okay, Bob. And just starts petting him.
Oh my god, yes. Alright. Though I will say, because your hands are now slippery, if you try to use anything that you would throw, the attack rolls will now be at disadvantage because.
Lovely.
Alright.
That's
so,
great.
so with that being said, you go ahead and leave the bathroom, and you can hear humming in the distance. You aren't quite sure how far it is, but from what you can tell, it's a child's voice.
Oh, that's some creepy shit right there, man.
They're just humming in this silent house. What do you want to do?
I want to leave the room and cry. No, let's go investigate the child.
Alright, so you walk forward into this hallway, and you come into what you would assume would be kind of like the den of whatever this house is. And like there's kind of like a sofa set up, and there's a fireplace that's crackling, which seems weird considering that it seems like no one's lived here. So, but like the fire is active, and
also, like, this house is underneath a cave.
exactly, and that's actually another thing you notice. There are windows along this wall, but like it leads to just pitch blackness. You can't even see cave walls. It's just
like Marceline's freaking cave in Adventure Time.
it's like you don't even see the cave walls. It's just a void beyond those windows. And so you walk into the den, you still hear the humming, but it doesn't get any louder. So you turn around and there's a kitchen, and it looks like a pretty decent kitchen. There's an oven, like a stone stove, and everything like that. Like there are charcoals in the stove to make it work and everything. There are cupboards all along the kitchen, but you still can't necessarily find a source for where this child is. You do see beyond the kitchen, there's a hallway leading to what you assume to be is another part of the house. But right now you've got the den and the kitchen and this hallway. So what would you like to do?
Let's go to the kitchen.
All right. So you go into the kitchen, and there you are. So do you want to like investigate anything like the drawers or the cupboards or anything?
Can I make an egg salad sandwich?
Sure. So for this, go ahead and first make an investigation check to see if it has the materials to make one.
Investigation is 2. I got 13.
All right. And now go ahead and make a dexterity check for actually making the sandwich.
Oh, what?
Dexterity. So roll a d20 and then add 1.
Oh, I got 2.
So that would be a 3.
No. Like the final answer is 2.
Oh, so you rolled a 1?
Yep.
Oh my god. All right. So not only do you fail to find bread, so you actually you go ahead and you pull plates out from one of the cupboards, and there aren't really any eggs. There's no refrigeration in this kitchen, so you just take some raw chicken that was sitting out and put them in between these plates, and you use these plates to make a sandwich with chicken in between 2 plates. The entire time, Bob's just shaking his head in disbelief.
I can't. Just like got caught by this guy.
Do you actually try eating it?
Can we cook it?
I mean,
Can we
you.
just put the plates? Can we just like? Well, not really. Can you burn the plate? What would happen? What happens when you freaking cook plates for 2?
I mean, would you like to see?
Yes.
All right.
Let's build a bonfire and put the plates over the fire.
You don't really have the means Wait, hang on, maybe.
What's with this? What's the stove?
Oh well, the stove is just charcoal over, kind of like burning charcoal, which is also weird. Uh, Burning charcoal over kind of like a regular stove grate. So you can go ahead and set it over the charcoal if you want.
Let's do that then.
All right, so you go ahead and set it there, and you're just kind of standing there tapping your foot, and you still hear this humming, and Bob's just kind of looking around all paranoid, and you stand there for about 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. About half an hour into waiting for this, the plate finally
Is my chicken done yet?
the plate finally cracks and shatters, and the chicken is not cooked. You only cooked the bottom plate.
I'm a great chef. Attempt to bite into it.
Ooh, all right. So go ahead and make a strength. Ooh, hang on. Let me see. Which would be the best way to go? Okay, yeah. Go ahead and make a strength check with disadvantage.
Alright, so we got 12 on the first one. Oh, that's right, and strength is +0.
Yep.
And disadvantage. Alright, so going with 12.
All right. So you bite into it, and you're just like, "Ow!" As your teeth do not even penetrate the plate. You don't take any damage, but your mouth is definitely sore. And freaking Bob's like, "You're a fucking dumbass. You know that?"
You missed the chance to give him, like, yeah, now your tooth hurts.
Yeah, whatever.
You gotta get them chickens! Let's go investigate the humming.
You don't actually know where the humming is coming from.
Oh, the hallway.
Okay, so you have the hallway by the kitchen?
Yes.
Alright. So, setting this shattered plate, chicken, and together plate aside, you go ahead and continue with your investigation. And going down this hallway...
Just in some random person's house making the most dumb sandwich ever.
In this hallway, nothing really changes. If anything, the humming actually gets quieter. So you go into this hallway, and there's a door there. There's nothing else. There's just a lone door right there.
Go through the door.
Alright. You go ahead and you go grab the handle. It's locked.
Damn it. Let's go back to the den and look for a key.
Alright. So, you walk back down the hallway, and you head into the den. And the humming kind of gets louder again, but it's the same volume it was last time you were in the den. Go ahead and roll an investigation check.
Oh, fuck. 3!
Oh, jeez. Alright, so you look around the den, you think you're looking well, like, you feel like a fucking awesome detective. You're doing, like, the weird hand thing, like you're scanning over things, and you're looking and you're like, yes, I see, but you don't see shit. It's like, it's just...
like I put my hand over my eyes, like blocking. I'm like, where is it? Where is it? Over there? Is it over there?
Yeah, that's basically exactly what happens. And, yeah, you don't find a single key or anything like that.
What else is there to do?
So, as far as you can tell, you've seen the entirety of this house. There's just this den, a kitchen, a hallway leading to a door that you can't open, and then the hallway leading back to the room you came from, and the bathroom.
Don't know. Can we use, or how long do the wands glow for?
Ooh, that is a good question. So, actually, they have still been glowing. The detect magic one would have faded away while you were waiting for your quote-unquote sandwich to cook. But I will say this. You detected magic when the humming began. You detected it from the room you started in.
The bathroom?
No, the room with the uh, desk and the bookshelf.
Oh. Okay, can we go back and use the thingy?
Go back and
Uh,
use what thingy?
use the magic detection.
Oh, you don't. Oh, yeah, good point. So you walk back in.
So it's
You,
the second charge.
yeah, you flick the wand. You sense an immediate, massive magical response in the back left corner of the room. You look over, and you can see a little girl. She's got like pale skin. She's wearing a white dress, and she's got like this long black hair, but her hair is like obscuring her face, and she's just kind of like standing there, rocking, like swaying back and forth on her feet, humming with her hands behind her back. And she doesn't even notice your presence. She's just sitting there humming.
Oh god, is this a fucking monster? Oh, it's a little creepy little girl. Hello, creepy little girl. How are you?
No response. She just keeps swaying and humming.
Okay. I fling my shit at her.
All right, go ahead and let's see. Go ahead and roll an attack, and
The 1d4?
no, just a d20 to see if it actually hits. So normally, like your attacks will have some sort of bonus, but for this, just roll a straight d20.
16.
All right, so it does hit, but it flies right through her and lands on the ground, like to the left of her. And she doesn't.
Yeah, disappointment, just like me.
Bob's like, dude, this is freaking me the hell out.
I don't get paid enough for this shit, man.
And then finally, the little girl stops humming, and she runs up to the desk, and then she like sits down, and she pulls out a book from one of the drawers. You didn't see this book in there, but she pulls it out and opens it, and she begins scribbling on it, and she's kind of humming away, and she's writing in it. And she's just kind of like kicking her legs, and she's just humming, and now you can see her face. Like, you can definitely tell that she is some form of humanoid. Like, she's definitely got human features on her face. Like, her eyes, like, her face looks pretty normal. Like, the only weird thing about her, really, is the fact that her skin is, like, completely pale white. But, like, her mouth is normal. Her eyes are, like, a regular, like, brown color. And she's kind of sitting there, bobbing her head, humming as she's writing in her journal.
Let's read over her shoulder.
All right, and since she doesn't even notice you, that's not even a problem. So you read the journal, and you look at the date. Actually, go ahead and make a perception check with advantage.
Alright. Yeah. Alright, 13. Oh, crap, come on. Like you said, advantage, that one was 4. 13. You said, what was this one?
Perception.
Perception. 4, so 13. 17.
All right. Wow, that's way higher than you needed. Since you're literally reading right over her shoulder, the like challenge level really isn't that high. So you read over, and you see the date. It's actually like you remember the date that it is currently. It's June 12th, 1859. In her journal, it says March 3rd, 1730. Below it,
So, like, 100 years prior.
exactly. And below it, you can't necessarily read the specifics. A lot of it is actually in another language, like none of the languages you recognize. But based on the way she's like writing, she's writing very smoothly, and based on her reaction, you can tell that whatever she's writing is probably uh, not too bad. Actually, go ahead and make an insight check. Now that I think about it.
Insight, alright. Damn it. Oh, fuck. 3!
All right, yeah. Can barely tell anything other than the fact that whatever she's writing in here is pretty happy. So other than the fact that she's happily writing. Like, doesn't really seem negative or anything. So she finishes writing. She goes ahead and slides the. She's actually about to go ahead and slide the book back into her desk, but she stops for a moment. Like, you feel the room suddenly grow cold, and she's just completely halted. Like, all sound is halted. You can't even hear anything outside in the cave or anything like that. She turns towards you, and she's actually looking straight up at you. And she just...
Oh, that's not what you want,
She just...
child.
She looks up at you. And you can see now there's actually fear in her eyes as she's looking at you. And she's all... Did you put Mommy and Daddy to bed? And then she disappears.
Oh, shit.
You feel the entire house suddenly start rumbling, and it reminds you of when you first fell into this room, and you feel whatever it was, it felt like a massive impact, and like rocks are beginning to crumble again, and like it's just you hear something in the distance. You can't necessarily make out what it is, but it sounds like very heavy wind for some reason. And Bob is just kind of like stammering. He doesn't even know what he just saw. He's like, dude, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
I couldn't agree with you, little shit.
All right, so what do you do?
Can we check the journal for secrets? Like,
All right.
is the Wand of Secrets? Does that still have a charge?
Yes, but you wouldn't be able to magically detect any secrets. You'd have to like look in it manually.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh, you just okay. So go ahead and make an investigation check then.
Oh, investigation. All right.
Yeah.
16.
All right, not bad. So, like, just you're flipping through these pages. As far as you can tell, it's all writing in this language you aren't familiar with. But at the end of it, you do see an entrance, an entrance in this journal that is written in common, so you understand it. And it looks like it was written just a couple days before the entry she was writing, actually. And all it says is the mirror in the bathroom.
Then let's go to the bathroom.
All right, you go in there, and immediately this wand picks something up, and like the entire time the ground is still shaking. So actually, go ahead and make an athletics check for me.
An athletics check.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's a +0. We're gonna go with 10.
All right. So you're walking along this ground, and you're trying to keep your balance up, and like you have your staff up against the wall, and like you're managing to keep your like balance up pretty well, but the floor just manages to catch you off guard. You fall, and your head bashes right into the bathroom doorknob, and you take 1 point of bludgeoning damage.
Oh, lovely. 1 point of damage.
Yep. Regardless, you get right back up, and you check the bathroom, and immediately there's a ping from the Wand of Secrets, and you can see there's something glowing in the mirror.
Hold on. I'm trying to freaking deal with the... It's not wanting to... The damage isn't wanting to go through. I'm hitting it. It says -1.
Alright, hold on, let me go ahead and...
Oh, wait. Oh, there it
Oh,
goes.
you got it? Alright, cool.
Yep. Alright. So now, investigate the mirror?
Yeah, so go ahead and make another investigation check.
Oh, yeah, investigation check. Right. 21.
Not bad. Alright, so just taking a quick glance at this mirror, you can tell this is one of those mirrors that you can open. Like, it's not just there stationary in the wall. You open it up, and inside, you can see the key you were looking for.
Yay! Pick it up.
Alright, grab the key. What you gonna do?
Go to the locked room that we found in the...
Alright, so are you booking it or are you taking your time? All right, so you're gonna have to make another athletics check for me then.
Alright, new athletics check. And. Shit!
What is it?
It's a fucking 8.
Oh man. All right, so you're running towards this door, and like you make a turn, but like you kind of skid a little bit, and you kind of fall back onto the sofa, and thankfully it didn't really hurt much, but you did hit the back of your head on a coffee table behind you, and you take another point of bludgeoning damage.
Damn it. I blame being old.
And the entire time, Bob doesn't know whether to laugh or like piss his pants in fear because he has no idea what's going on.
You stupid frickin' Bob, if you're not careful, I'll just slam you into the frickin' door next time.
Bob doesn't even respond. Like he's still just kind of frozen and doesn't know what to do.
Just dying of laughter.
Pretty much. All right. So with that, you go ahead and jump back up, and you book up the rest of the way to the door because it's really not too far away from you. So do you want to go ahead and unlock the door and pull it open?
Yes.
All right. So you excuse me. You put the key into the lock, unlock it, you pull it open. However, in front of you is just a cave wall. This door leads to nothing. It's just a wall.
Spell of secrets. Or, not spell,
The
use
wand?
wand of secret. Yeah.
Alright, well, it still has its charge, so you don't need to, like, use another... And no secret passages. It's just a cave wall.
Let's throw our sandwich at the wall.
Alright, so with that, go ahead and roll for attack. So go ahead and just roll a straight d20.
A straight d20?
Mm-hmm.
12.
Alright, yeah, this doesn't really have a high DC. Alright, so go ahead and for damage, let's go ahead and roll a d4 plus... We'll go ahead and say plus 2. D4 plus 2.
5.
Alright, so both the plates crash against this wall, and the chicken just kind of plops down on the ground. However, surprisingly, the cave wall cracks, and just automatically it begins to shift. It's like, it starts rumbling, and it's all...
Push on the wall.
Oh, you don't actually need to do anything. It opens up for you, like a passage. And ahead of you is another dark corridor. And thankfully, you can see into this corridor. And it heads forward, and there's a staircase heading back up. Would you like to go ahead and book it? The ground is still shaking, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
Alright, go ahead and make one more athletics check.
And there we go. And athletics still none. So we're going with 18.
Ooh, that's perfect.
Finally.
Alright.
Old man finally got his bearings.
Yeah, so finally, it's about time. You're getting used to the ground shaking at this point, so you're running and you're like shifting your weight accordingly. You're jumping like over debris. It's like you're suddenly 130 again. It's like your way, like everything's way better. And then you make your way up this staircase, and the shaking stops. You turn around where you just came from, and there's nothing but wall behind you. There's no hint that what you just went through was even there in the first place.
Are you seeing this too, Bob? Or...
I'm sorry, I don't... What are you talking about? I didn't see anything.
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't see anything. Alright. So, getting back on track. We are now back in the cave that you were in, although you aren't quite familiar with your bearings anymore. Ahead of you, the corridor continues kind of snaking around, and as far as you can tell, there are no branching paths, and right now you're pretty much in a dead end. Because behind you, that house just kind of disappeared. Would you like to proceed forward? All right. So you go ahead and walk forward and go ahead and make a Constitution saving throw. So roll a d20, and you don't really have any. So it's just going to be a d20 because your Constitution saving throw is +0.
Wait, what?
Constitution saving throw. So roll a straight d20.
17.
Ooh, all right, not bad. So you start hearing whispers as you go along this corridor, but they don't really phase you or anything. You don't hear what they're saying. Like, it's just kind of, and then it just kind of quickly fades away. And you just kind of shrug it off. You're like, yeah, I hear voices in my head all the time. It's fine. And so you just kind of press onward.
Just add to the many list of voices already set up shop.
All right. So taking this corridor, it takes you a little while, and now you're beginning to grow concerned that what if you've been here for a little too long and the monster you're hunting might not be there? But there's only one way to check. So you proceed down this corridor, and you finally come up to another room this time. So this room, it's circular like the last ones you were in this cave, and this time you can actually see bodies on the floor. There are Crownsguard members here, and the ground below them has been stained with their blood, and their weapons are just kind of scattered about. Like there's just a single spear and everything. And you look ahead, and the path does branch off to the north. So, what would you like to do?
Let's go with the north.
All right. So you walk past those bodies. Bob just kind of looks at them and kind of turns away, and you head back to the north. And so now, heading up to the north again, you can hear the humming again.
No.
You don't hear any voices, but you hear this humming. Go ahead and make another Constitution saving throw for me.
Crap, I can't. 13.
Perfect. So you hear this humming, and along with it, you can start to hear an older voice humming. The first one is the little girl you heard earlier in the house, but next you hear, like, a male's voice beginning to hum the same melody this girl's humming, but then the male's voice just disappears, and you still hear the girl's. And then Bob doesn't say anything. He's just kind of standing there, like, basically as still as he can, and all you can hear is this girl humming, and ahead of you just lies a dark corridor still snaking forward. What do you do?
Let's go with the snaking corridor.
Alright, so you keep heading forward. The humming stays at the same volume, strangely enough, and the more you listen to it, the more you realize it isn't echoing against the cave walls or anything, so it doesn't sound like that whatever's making this sound isn't actually physically there. But as you make your way into this corridor, you finally reach a point where the path branches off, one to the left and one to the right. Which path will you take?
Let's go with the right.
Alright, cool. So you head right this time, and the humming stops. You no longer sense that whatever is there is around you anymore, and Bob just kind of lets out this sigh of relief, like as if he's been holding his breath this whole time. And you continue making your way deeper into this cave. And you used a second charge on the Detect Magic Wand, right?
Yes.
Alright, so it hasn't been long since you last used it, so you suddenly get a magical ping. Heading this direction, you sense a magical presence. I mean, there's no other way but forward, so would you simply like to proceed?
Yes.
Alright. So you start heading forward again. And as you make your way there, you see the path kind of widen. It gets more broad the further you get, and it just keeps going gradually wider and wider, almost like in a V shape, sort of. and in the distance, you see the room kind of close off. You see a bit of light at the end of this room. It's like a blue light. It's a familiar light to you. It's a portal. But in front of that portal is a shadowed figure. Now, even though you can see in the dark, you can only see this figure's silhouette. As far as you could tell, it's a bird about 6 feet tall and about 2 feet wide with like these 2 big wings. And it's just kind of sitting there staring at you with these glowing red eyes. I want you to go ahead and roll initiative.
An initiative. Oh God, come on. Initiative. Wait, what's my initiative? Do I have any plus?
Yeah, it will be +1.
Plus what?
1. So it's like if you look at your character sheet, there's a thing that says initiative, and under it it says +1.
I'm trying to find the initiative. What? Wait, where's the initiative one?
So like you see where your base stats are, so like strength, dexterity, constitution, etc. all are.
Uh-huh.
And then do you see where it says proficiency bonus next to those stats?
Yes.
Under that is where initiative is.
Oh, I see it. Oh yeah, +1. Okay. Go. Okay, 20.
Nice. That is a great starting roll. All right. So you see this big bird-like thing kind of standing there, and it's staring at you with these piercing red eyes, and it just kind of does this loud screech that I can't replicate because my voice kind of hurts. So you move first, though. What would you like to do?
Oh God, I have 2 missing hit points. Let me take a quick look here. Let's go with unidentified flying assistance probably couldn't work since we're underneath floors and shit.
I mean, you can still try it if you want.
No, I don't want to risk it. Let's go with let's throw a dagger at him.
All right. So throwing a dagger. So go ahead and roll a d20 and add 3 to see if it hits.
18.
18 probably, yes, 18 most definitely hits. So go ahead and roll a 1d4 plus 1.
And 2.
That's a total of 2 damage.
Yep.
All right, so you throw the dagger, and it kind of sticks into the beast's like chest, and he just kind of, and like, it doesn't phase him a lot, like, but the dagger is kind of stuck there in the chest. So you are now down 1 dagger for the time being. So this beast is going to go ahead and attempt to charge at you. So let's see if it makes the hit. Ooh, yeah, that definitely doesn't. So you rolled a 2, and you have an armor class of 12. So that definitely does not hit. So he flies up and swoops down, and he's about to try to like claw at you with one of his talons, but like you swiftly dodge out of the way, and like just it's like no sweat off your back, and then finally he's flying up into the air, and the ceiling isn't super high, but he is out of melee range. So what would you like to do?
Let's go with an Eldritch Blast.
All right, so go ahead and roll d20 plus 4.
D20 plus 4. 14.
Oh shit! So, wait a minute. Oh, that's not damage. I was thinking, okay, that still hits. Perfect. So, go ahead and roll 1d8.
Oh, 1d8. Awesome. Which one is that? There it is. Come on. Something good. 8.
Ooh, oh, that is freaking awesome. So, you go ahead and fire this freaking blast of Eldritch Blast, and it's like this giant white flash coming out of
Wait,
freaking
hold on.
Bob's.
Wait. Oh crap. Hold on. Wait, was I supposed to add anything? Was I supposed to add plus?
Uh, actually, yeah, +4.
Oh, so make it 12 then because I rolled an 8.
Oh, that is freaking awesome. So, you go ahead and hold up your staff, and like you channel the Eldritch power through it, and you fire this white beam out of Bob's mouth, and it just goes, and it strikes right into this beast's chest, and it begins to just cover his entire body, and like he's just squealing and like squawking and struggling, and he drops dead.
Yeah, you take that, you giant chicken! And then I run up to it and I kick him in the face.
So, actually, while you're doing this, go ahead and make a perception check with disadvantage.
You kind of cut out there. What?
Go ahead and, while you're going to kick him in the face, go ahead and roll a perception check with a disadvantage.
Perception check, disadvantage. Alright, 11. Alright, so 11. 15.
Ooh, not bad. So while you run up to kick this guy on the head, and Bob's all, no, don't disrespect the dead. I mean, coming from me, that's a little odd, but still.
This guy's been killing everybody, and he tried to kill me. Could have killed you, but I guess not. Don't care about that. Some tacos.
You hear two giant footsteps. You turn around. You see there's another one of those birds waiting for you. Go ahead and roll advantage or initiative again.
Alright, okay, so initiative's +1. Oh no. Went from being good to bad. I got 9.
Oh shit. Alright, so yeah. So this thing goes first. So he freaking caws out loud and like he's angry that you killed his buddy. And he's going to fly and make an attack with his beak. So let's see. Oh, alright. So that is a 17, which does hit because you have an armor class of 12. So let's see what his attack will be.
The stubbornness of the elderly taking effect?
It will, because this attack just brought you to 0 HP. So...
Oh, God. So I'm at 1?
Well, yeah, so he attacks you. He dealt exactly 6 damage.
So technically I'm at 1 thanks to touch of the elderly.
Yes.
Stubbornness of the elderly.
Which also means you can no longer use magic other than cantrips. So with this, I should also mention, you have an action and a bonus action as well. So for your bonus action, like if you look under actions, it can tell you, hang on, wait. Oh, it doesn't tell you what you can use as a bonus, but remember you do have potions.
Yes. How much does each potion,
How much does each potion heal?
Yes.
So you can actually check that if you, hang on, wait, let me see, where are these potions?
Potion of healing.
Okay, if you click it, it tells you how much it heals, because it requires a roll for it.
Character who drinks medicine. Oh yeah, regains 2d4.
Okay, so then, cool.
So, okay, so I want to use one.
Alright, perfect. So go ahead and roll for it.
Okay, hold on. So 2d4s. Okay. +2 hit points. Alright, so hold on. 2, 3. So that'd be 5 plus is 7. So I get 7 back.
Oh, sounds like it. So that means you are back up to max HP.
Alright, hold on. Okay, I just removed one of the potions, right?
Yeah, because now one of them is used and you still have a spare.
Well, I know. I just want to make sure, actually. missing a potion. I'm supposed to have
Huh.
two. I thought I used. Wait. Inventory.
Weird.
What? I had two. I only used one. Hold on. What the hell? Hold on. Let me just get one more back in.
Alright.
Because I had two. I thought I only used one, but there we are. There it is. Potion of healing. One. Wait. Potion. There. Okay. That was just something weird. All right.
Okay, cool.
So healed up.
Alright.
Do I have one thing per move, or is that my?
So that, we'll count that as your bonus. So you can still attack.
Alright. Let's go with a chill touch.
Alright, so go ahead and roll a d20 plus 4 to see if that hits.
15.
That hits. Alright, so go ahead and roll damage. And so that will be 1d8 plus 4.
1d8 plus 4. And boom. 5.
Alright, not bad. I just had to math in my head real quick. So you go ahead and fire this chill touch at this giant freaking bird who's evil looking. And like immediately you can see like this flash of ice across his body, and he just kind of squeals again, and he looks pretty well hurt. So do you want to move anywhere at all?
What would moving do?
So you can move away. This room has about a radius of about 30 feet all around, and you're about 20 feet away from the back left corner, and well, not really, like you're more like 15 feet away from the back corner.
Can I go run up to the corpse of the old dead bird, grab my dagger, and then...
Oh, absolutely. You have more than enough movement for that. So you go ahead and you grab that old dagger, and then you back away. So with that, this thing does have... So I don't know if you removed the dagger from your inventory, but you have it back anyway. So...
No, I didn't.
Alright, so this guy is going to go ahead and try to attack once more. Ooh, that definitely misses. That was a 6. So he flies at you, but like he's trying to attack you while you're grabbing the dagger from the other guy. So he has his beak like aimed right at you, but like you manage to duck out of the way right on time, grab the dagger, and he flies off, and then he kind of turns around, and then now he just kind of lands behind you. What would you like to do?
You stupid bird, I got my toothpick! Go with... So we did land. Can I just use staff?
Can you just what?
Can I just use the quarterstaff?
Yeah, so that's just gonna be like a, yeah, that's just gonna be a regular attack, so go ahead and roll a d20 plus 2.
A d20 plus 2. 7.
Alright, ooh, d20 plus 2, yeah, that misses. So, you go ahead and go to whack him with the staff that Bob is on, and as you do, it's just, like, he kind of sees it coming, because, like, you're not moving very fast, you're, like, as spring and spry as you felt, like, going through all that earthquake earlier, you're still an old man, you can't move very fast, so you go to swing at him, and the bird just kind of backs away, flapping his wings, and you still have a bonus action and can move, so what would you like to do next?
Let's send another Eldritch Blast at him.
Alright, cool. So with that, go ahead and roll a d20 and add 4.
Add 4. You said a d20 add 4?
Yeah.
Okay. 10.
Ooh, alright. That just actually barely misses. You go ahead and fire the Eldritch Blast out of Bob's mouth, and you're just not having luck with Bob today, because he kind of like starts choking right as it's going through his mouth, and he just kind of and fires the Eldritch Blast off in a random direction, and it goes off, it goes wide and hits the wall behind this giant beast.
Well, you learned to aim.
It's not my fault, I swear. And then with that, do you want to move any further? I mean, this is a pretty confined space, and the beast is pretty big, so it's not like there is much room to move anyway.
Let's just stay then.
Alright, so at that, this hawk is going to go ahead and try to attack you with its beak again. Oh, and it just barely misses. Rolled an 11. So,
Oh.
yeah, it flies at you with its beak wide open, and you freaking, like, you go, like, with a little smack with a tap with Bob, and you knock its beak away and quickly dodge out of the way, and the bird just kind of squeals and, like, flies up, and it is now out of melee range. So what would you like to do?
You overgrown crowbag! You can't hit me, I can't hit you! Taste another Eldritch Blast!
Alright, roll for an attack.
That's like an in-between, so let me just try again.
Yeah.
And then it's plus 4, 17!
Nice. Alright, so
Finally hit him again!
go ahead and roll damage.
A D8?
Yeah, 1d8 plus 4.
Alright, and... there it is.
Or 1d10. 1d10.
1d10.
Yeah, because this is Eldritch Blast.
Alright, I have... Oh, is it the one with the, like, the single numbers, like, not the doubles?
Yeah, it's the one that looks just like it, but it's single numbers.
Alright. So, plus 4, you said?
Yeah.
11.
Oh, shit. So, you go ahead and fire the Eldritch Blast out of freaking Bob's mouth, and this time he's determined. He refuses to let anything choke him, because he doesn't care about you necessarily, but he just doesn't want his bad aim hurting his pride. So this time, you go ahead and aim this...
want to be chicken chow.
Exactly. You go ahead and aim this staff up at this bird. Freaking Bob shoots this Eldritch Blast out of his mouth, this giant white burst. It makes impact with this giant bird, and unlike the last one, which was kind of like a slow burn, this one explodes on impact. It's like the ball of energy flies right at this bird, and as soon as it hits his chest... Actually, go ahead and make an athletics check for me.
Alright. Alright, and then athletics, I get... Oh, 11.
Alright, that's actually not bad. So, with this explosion, you manage to keep your balance, and you're like holding yourself on, like with your staff kind of buried into the cave ground to keep yourself from falling back. And this explosion, there isn't really like blood or guts or anything. It's just an explosion of pure eldritch energy. And nothing remains of that second bird. Only the corpse of the first one you killed is still on the ground. Both of these beasts have been killed, and as far as you can tell, there is nothing remaining.
Too old for this shit, man.
Tell me about it. And Bob just kind of massages his throat because it's like been a while since you've used it to actually shoot magic out. And then, like in your moment of celebration, you just kind of hear this slow clapping behind you, and you turn around, and in the dark, something you didn't see before was kind of a relatively shorter human woman with like short purple hair kind of cut down to her neck, and she's wearing leather armor, and she's got like all sorts of weapons attached to her sides and like her belt and like across her chest and everything, and she's wearing these fingerless gloves, and she just kind of looks at you with this proud smirk, and she's like, "Well done. I'm surprised you were able to take both of them out."
Oh, that's just me, but the real question is, who the hell are you, and you're the one responsible for these shitheads?
She just kind of laughs and kind of starts pacing around in front of you, and she goes, "Well, my name we can save for a later time. Your name, however, is one I am proud to know, Arcrampan Warlock. Am I correct?"
That is factual information, but how do you...
I'm sorry you cut off.
Yeah, you kind of got over me too. Like earlier, it sounded like pissing. I'm like, what? It sounded like pissing in front of him. I'm like, wait, what? But yes, that is me. But how could you know this information?
Because Jamiroquai and I are friends, and thus I am friends with the royal family as well. And that's exactly why I've brought you here. And so she turns around and she gestures towards that blue portal that you saw earlier. And now the portal has turned kind of like a shade of purple this time around. And she says, "Well, I don't have a lot of time to explain, but you have tested yourself, or we have tested you, and you have proven yourself quite worthy. You and that strange creature on your staff." And then Bob just goes, "Hey, I'm not strange. This guy's strange."
That's fact. Give me 1 second.
All right.
All right. Can I still be heard?
Yeah.
All right. I just need to plug in my headset. All right. Continue.
All right. So this short-haired woman, she just kind of looks at you and Bob, and then looks at the corpse of this giant bird, and she says, "So, would you like to know the truth? I have indeed summoned these here, and these were here to test your abilities. It seems we were quite right about that."
Quite right about what?
About you being a powerful warlock.
Oh, I understand. Wanting to test skills. Why summon great big monsters just for them to freaking, like, just for them to kill your own men? That's irresponsible.
"Oh, these men?" And she just kind of snaps her fingers, and the corpses you saw, like, they begin to glow a faint green, and they come back to life. And she's like, "Oh, don't worry. We had no trouble with these at all."
What are you, some kind of necromancer?
Something like that. And she just kind of smiles, and she just kind of leads you towards the portal, and she says, "You know, you've got quite a job ahead of you, and we just wanted to make sure you'd be ready." And like behind you, the guards are walking up with their spears, and looking closer, actually go ahead and roll a perception check for me.
A perception check? Okay. Come on. Alright, there we go. Oh, fuck. Alright, perception is still... Oh, it's +4. Alright, that's not as bad. Alright, so 6.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, you don't notice anything particular on the guards. You just kind of see them walking by. Their faces are kind of hooded over by their helms. And oddly enough, they're kind of holding their spears toward you. They don't look like they're going to attack, but it looks more like it's a precautionary measure. So you kind of look at them, and then you turn over to this short-haired woman who's kind of standing there with you. And she smiles, and she just kind of pats you on your shoulder, and she's like, "Welcome to the guild." And she shoves you into the portal.
What?
You fly through, and then nothing. And that's where we're going to pick up in the main campaign.
Oh, that is so rude! Oh, come on! I want no more!
Well, in the next one, you're going to be meeting everyone. So that's why I said it's...
Oh, you kind of cut out what?
I said, well, in the next episode, you're going to be meeting everyone, which is why we have to stop it there.
You cut out again. Next episode.
Oh, yeah, in the next episode, you'll be meeting the other characters, so we had to stop there.
Oh my gosh, that's just rude. It's like a big old cliffhanger. Oh, you know what? That's fine.
So, what do you think about the game?
Dude, this is gonna be awesome.
Right? That was fun. Like, being a DM is actually not as difficult as I expected.
No, like the main thing is pretty much having to think on your feet.
Exactly, and like especially since I was trying to voice all these NPCs, like I kept mixing up accents and crap, and I was like, "Oh wait, I just made Bob sound like Jamiroquai" and stuff like that. But
right, but you can still tell, like, you can still kind of tell who, which is good.
yeah, and that's awesome. But and then there are all sorts of mysteries you've kind of unlocked in just this one little session too, like the thing about that house and that weird ghost girl and her freaking saying, "Did you put mom and dad to bed?" Like,
Oh yeah.
you've unlocked all sorts of stuff that may or may not be unlocked in the main campaign. Who knows?
Dude, I can't wait for this.
Right? Just this session alone already has me hyped, and you fought well too. Like, I mean, you did die once, but thankfully that's what that reaction's for.
Yes, you can. Stubbornness of the elderly.
Exactly. Like, considering how low your HP was, I knew something like that would happen, but thankfully, aside from that thief that tried attacking you at the beginning, like, the bird things had relatively low attack, so I wasn't like. They couldn't kill you in one shot, really. Unless they got a crit, but that's another story. Anyway, that was freaking awesome. Freaking Arcrampan is a fantastic character, and I think that was
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
beginning to the
I was
story.
realizing, like after we had started, I'm like, we introduced our Crampin much, yeah, but that's my character. He's our Crampin Warlock. He's a 1,000-year-old, not a dark elf, like some kind of other elf, and he invented his own type of spell that won't let him age.
Well,
So
that's
he's
like a. Well, the reason I didn't really discuss that is because that's more like stuff that you'd kind of tell the other players as the campaign goes on. Yeah,
well, yeah. It's just, that way, like those who it's like those watching for future reference.
that makes sense.
That way, you get some more context.
Oh, yeah. Also, most of this story was improvised, by the way, but like, I feel like a lot of it will open up to so much awesomeness in the main story.
Right. So yeah, so you'll be uploading like this episode, then someone else prologues, and we'll have our versions of the main campaign. But yeah, anyone who's watching on my channel, go check out the other prologues there when they're on this guy's channel when they're uploaded, and be ready to catch the campaign in the future.
Hell yeah. I don't know when we'll be starting, but hopefully it'll be soon, because this is freaking awesome.
Hell yeah! But in the meantime, make sure you stay with my fellow weirdos.
Fare thee well, and have a good day.